Hey there, my name is Przemek, and today I got some Swedish ambient for you. My, what a surprise! I got reviews of two albums for you, two fresh albums. Well, actually, one is fresh and it's already out, and the second one hasn't been released yet. It will be out on November 8th, and I'm talking about Letum, Distant Dead Stars, and Nordvargr, Resignation IV. Let's begin with Letum. I would say that Cryo Chamber is like Manchester City of dark ambient, and Letum is like another footballer who has to fit somehow into Guardiola's, or rather Simon Heath's puzzle of creating the strongest dark ambient team in the world. Personally, I don't like Manchester City, but I like Cryo Chamber and I support this label, although I hope they won't monopolize this whole ambient world. Last year, Letum has released a very successful album for Cyclic Low. It was Dreams and Illusion. I reviewed it in 2023, and now we see Mattias Henriksson's project in, well, like I said, in a new team. And it's interesting that after more dark, dreamlike and spiritual concepts, this time Letum is going into space. And it's kind of escapist concept, I would say. And honestly, I wouldn't expect this from this particular project. Evolving drones transcend the physical realm, sweeping listeners into the void of distant dead stars. The soundscapes bleed with collisions of noise, sweeping through desolate ruins and desecrated holy grounds, where the remnants of a forgotten prophecy whisper back to life. Each track brings a sense of cosmic dread, unraveling a slow collapse. This is how the label describes Distant Dead Stars, and you have to admit that this is very Cryo Chamber-esque description. And how does Letum finds his way in such a topic? Well, quite well, and the project adapts his characteristic idea for dark ambient to a cosmic fashion in such a skillful way that I can believe that it's a record of a journey into the unknown, somewhere beyond the galaxy we know. And while the first track, the title track, is kind of an intro for the whole album, and its main theme somehow strangely reminds me of Beherit's track Deep Night 23rd. The second, It's Like From Another Dimension, is a powerful composition with rather monolithic, slightly noisy soundscapes, and it's like a musical illustration of an encounter with an unknown force, with an intelligent organism the size of a planet. It is a track filled with mystery, fear, but also fascination. It reflects precisely the idea for Mattias Henriksson's ambient, combining dark but very atmospheric and rather accessible ambient with noisier and more distorted sequences in such a way that they don't clash but cooperate on equal terms. And fortunately, it's not one-dimensional darkness either. This sometimes bothers me on cosmic or space dark ambient albums, that the musicians generate darkness that musically it may be diverse, but in terms of atmosphere they clearly veer towards cosmic horror, as if anything we encounter in space was intended solely to kill us. On this album, this atmosphere also dominates, but there are also less obscure moments, like the track The Last Day Ended Yesterday, which is like, I don't know, like discovering the ruins of an ancient civilization, now probably dead and forgotten, but one that left behind a great knowledge from which we can learn a lot. Or when worlds collide, breathing with some strangely optimistic subtext, as if meeting with some deity, which makes you abandon your corporeal shell and enter a higher stage of evolution, one when body is no longer needed. And I know that my feelings don't necessarily correspond with the titles of those tracks, and perhaps I'm over-interpreting again, but it really doesn't matter. For me, the greatest advantage of this album is precisely this diversity of this cosmic atmosphere. Sometimes something indeed wants to kill you, as always, but sometimes this undefined something is just as curious and willing for contact as we are as humans, or at least some of us. Will this be my favorite Letum album? I don't know, it's hard to say at the moment, but what's obvious that Mattias Henriksson doesn't fall below a high level of creativity, and this time it's no different. Letum, Distant Dead Stars, from Cryochamber label. And the second album I would like to talk about today is Nordvargr, Resignation IV. Nordvargr, the man who doesn't need a further introduction. At least for the viewers of this channel, I hope. But I'm quite sure that you know at least a few incarnations of this talented and versatile musician. MZ412, Folkstorm, Toroid, Puppe Fabrik, and 100 other projects, and twice as many albums recorded as Nordvargr, alone or in collaborations. Dark ambient, industrial, martial industrial, death industrial, power electronics, you name it. And I have to admit that out of all these Nordvargr incarnations, this one under the name Resignation is in my top 5 of all his works, especially the first album, which was titled 1897. I listened to it a lot of times a couple of years ago, and as Cycliclo writes on the Bandcamp, it was born from a collaboration between Nordvargr and Nils Ekholm, merging techno-inspired beats with samples from old 78 RPM records. The first album in the series was described as techno if invented in the late 1800s, drawing inspirations from the ill-fated 1897 North Pole expedition by S.A. André. A nice description, but it wasn't something very new, because a similar approach to ambient techno had been proposed earlier by, for example, Wolfgang Voigt and his project Gas. For example, on the album Königsfürst. Sorry. However, in Nordvargr's work itself, it was something fresh and interesting, because, of course, we had more rhythmic music before from his hand, for example, in Puppe Fabrik, but it was more like raw industrial EBM in that project. And on that first album, 1897, it was like Arctic lo-fi ambient techno, which I found incredibly attractive because it combined glacial moods, which I love, with dub techno rhythms, and such combination usually works. Look at Ecospace, for example. The first Resignation also had a bit in common with Ecospace, although you could feel Nordvargr's dark industrial origins there, and his music wasn't as airy and dreamlike as Ecospace. And on the following Resignation installations, I mean Resignation 2 and Resignation 3, his music became more transparent. The rhythms seemed clearer and more pushed to the forefront, and there was more, in general, more going on there in terms of composition and structures of composition. Although this cold trance still remained unchanged. And Resignation 4. Oh no, but first, I almost forgot. First, the cover. The cover is fucking awesome. It's almost the end of this year, and I think this will be my favorite cover of 2024. I often forget to mention the authors of graphic designs, but in this case, I have to do it. The author is Sandrine Pelletier, and on the cover we see a female sniper in a church. maybe she's aiming at the Pope. Who knows? One way or another, it is a great idea for a cover photo. Anyway, the album is again based on atmospheric soundscapes, but there's more experimentations here. Sometimes even some harsher textures, as if we have left the pristine Arctic regions and returned to a big industrial city of the late 1800s. And my thoughts are already running away from gas and heading towards those kind of non-noise or non-power electronics albums from Prurient, maybe even Vatican Shadow a bit, but not so much. Although the sound of Resignation 4 is still cold and Scandinavian, and yet a bit less catchy than some of Dominic Ferno's albums. I know how it sounds, yeah, I know. And sometimes even, how to put it, a chorus, sounding almost like a martial techno. I mean, listen to the song Resistance to see what I mean. It's when it's like you easily notice that it's made by a guy who cut his teeth on darker and rougher varieties of underground music. But on the other hand, there is some delicacy and space here, like in the track Our Lord of the Abyss Part 2. And it seems to me that this is the most diverse installment of the Resignation series so far. And on one hand, it's a natural step in the development of the growth of the direction Nordvargr has chosen under this Resignation banner. And on the other, it doesn't put him against the wall. It opens the doors for new possibilities that this project can follow in the future. And yeah, I like this album. It has many layers to gradually discover, and I'm not sure yet on which place I would put this album in my Resignation classification. It still needs to settle down in my brain, and I need to see how it works in the long run, but it's definitely something far from being ordinary. Nordvargr, Resignation 4, also recommendation. It should be out in a couple of days, so look forward for this one. I hope you like this video. If so, please like, and if you like what I do on this channel, click subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.